have an issue with my raised beds. I bring it up every time, but I figured this will get a better response, a better answer. So like this summer was the first summer that I had no production out of my raised beds. And that was due to the heat. That was due to the heat on the sides of these beds. Drying it out, the beds turn into dust for 2-3 days with no rain. And while I do have a nearly 300-gallon rain tank, I didn't want to stand over watering these beds every day. So I dealt with no harvest during the summer. And now you can see that we've approached near winter. The solstice, days getting shorter. Now we're getting rain, as in where we got no rain before. And now you see what's happening. Like the kale here, the kale is just unstoppable. Yeah, there are some bug bites, but it's been too cold for the caterpillars to stay. But you see each of the raised beds, I'll try to go slower. They're outfitted with several types of kale. So you see here this is some of the walking stick kale. I believe it's supposed to get about 15 feet tall. I've got a pretty big hand, and these leaves are much bigger. I've got a bunch of these planted. I've got other stuff in the garden beds too. You know, cabbage is not going to do anything. Kales, I've got carrots. I just chucked the seeds in, so all kind of stuff going in. We got like chards, some type, I think it's a silver beet. I don't know what kind of chard that is. Potatoes popping up. Greens, kale, you know, other greens, carrots planted throughout. Not to mention, come and take a look. You know, we've got little garlics coming up, another garlic. So the garden's actually doing okay. You know, it's doing okay with rain at least once a week. All the kale's coming up. You know, of course, I got a freeze coming tomorrow, so all these potatoes are going to be wiped out. But I've got tons of kale. And now that I'm coming in here trying to demolish my garden, it's hard because I see all these plants coming up, and I know that I could have enough kale to get me through the winter if I just leave everything the way it is. Now here's the issue with the raised beds. Now you can see my neighbor's yard is up a little higher than mine, and I have this slope coming down to meet the raised beds right here. And what happens is every time we get hard rains, the water pours down here again, and then I get water rushing down the side garden beds, between the garden beds. Water rushes down here, and then it actually sits here amongst the foundation of my house, and it'll sit about this high. And you can see I've got lots of greens now growing, and this is due to the rain, the heavy water pushing all the seeds off, and now they're catching. I've got mizunas and kales popping up in my foundation, which I got to pull. So these raised beds right here, they help when those heavy rains come, and they keep everything up. However, those rains are rare. So my problem is that the drying out the beds too much, and also that when I come in to add new layers of compost every year, you can see, because I fertilize my beds by just adding soil from my chicken pen, but I've got no more space. I was so focused on filling these beds up to the top that for the last 2 years, I've had to actually dig out root balls and stuff, and actually no, I had to actually raise these beds up. And you can see how tall they are. You know, I'm 6'1", and they're up above my knees, so they're a good 2.5 feet tall. Oh, I hope I didn't mess that camera up. Sorry about that. Okay. So they're about 2.5 feet tall. They hold a lot of soil. So the only other option I was thinking of is to get rid of these beds, but I don't have the money. Right now I'm a 100% disabled through Veterans Affairs. I'm going through a lot of stuff with compression fractures and arthritis and DJD and whatnot, and hauling all this stuff around the yard. And I recently had to surrender my CDL from hypoglycemic seizures. So I've got a lot of stuff I'm working on for my health. And I'm still pretty strong, still pretty fit, but anyway. And these stones were supposed to continue on and carry through. So the amount of water coming through and flooding my house and heading out the back, as well as the dryness through the summers, these raised beds just don't make sense to me anymore. So what I was thinking about doing is taking these panels apart and reusing them, just doing a long solid wall of this panel, then using the other side panels to attach here and just run a straight wall down and then close a huge area here, just to make a giant square bed with these things, just one huge square until I run out of space, and then just have some type of, you know, bed I have to climb into. I don't know, you don't see the slope here, but I need to fill in the ground a lot more to bring my ground level higher than their ground level if I want to prevent the water. But what's going to happen is if I bring up this ground level to equal that, we're going to come back down to my house and probably be about this high off the ground. Now, I'm on a brick slab. It's a regular 1970s house on a brick slab, but I don't have a crawl space or anything, but still I don't want this hitting the plywall or the plywood. So if I raise the ground level up here, I'm going to have a problem. So I'm going to have to put some type of terrace or some type of retention wall or something to hold everything in. Now, I'm not sure about the durability of these panels. They've been here for about 4 years and the wood's starting to rot on the bottom. But I was thinking about taking all these panels again and just building a long wall down, a long wall this way, and containing it and filling it up to about this tall with soil, and just having a long L-shaped wall all the way down to the side, and then filling it up, leveling it up to that ground right here, which if you look down to theirs, it should looks like the soil level should be about to right here if it's even. And I don't know what that's gonna look like. I don't know if it's possible. I have a bunch of logs coming in today that I can use, but I really don't know what to do. So if I plant in the ground, I probably won't dry out anymore at all. And I'll have good crops during the summer, but when the heavy waters come and they breach this little trench, everything I have is going to be flooded unless it's listed up. So I really don't want to know what to do. I'm open to any type of advice, any type of suggestions. If I had 200 cinder blocks, I would just build a huge cinder block retaining wall. But I don't want to spend $400 to go out there and grab a bunch of cinder blocks. And yes, I'm checking Marketplace every day for free blocks, whatnot. So I need suggestions. Do I take off all these panels and build a huge wall with these like that will stop the soil from rushing against the house? Will I still flood? Or do I just keep these same beds? Do I move these beds around? I really don't know what to do. The main issue is the flooding. Every time it rains, it floods and pours to where the water fills up about this high on the beds, past my ankles, and sits and doesn't drain off. And I do have drainage in the back, but I need to figure that out. So if anybody has any pictures or any ideas of any layouts that might fit, I would love to see it. I would love to get to work on this. It's not a large area. It's not. And the way it's set up now is it's rough. When this water comes down, I had to trench down, put pavers down, and as you can see, it exits through the back of the house. Now, as we come into the back of my garden, I had these two drainage pipes, one here, that run all the way out and carry the water down. So the water will back up here, and I'll have to come out here and hand clog these, but also another escape route is the concrete I put down here for the water to rush out this way. And I have holes in the block, and I've trenched out right here where the water can go this way, and it could take it down to my fig tree near my bananas and my pawpaws. So I need help. I need pictures or advice. What do I do? Do I just save up, buy a whole bunch of cinder blocks and start a wall from here all the way down, just a walkway over here, and just a huge stepped up block bed, and maybe I can use logs to line them? But either way, it's going to be a lot of work. I don't know what to do with the materials. I'm not resourceful, and it's going to make me sad to, you know, chop up all these plants that are wanting to live now. Because you see, everything was rough all summer, but you see what we're getting now that we're in good weather. Look at this. Everything is, you know, again, this is what we were looking at earlier in the season. And now look, it's come back to life. Everything, I've got strawberries starting, kale starting up. I've got flowers from tomato volunteers popping up, basil. I know I still have some green beans. I still have peppers coming. You know, this pepper bush didn't give me any peppers at all during the whole summer, but now look at this thing. We get a little bit of rain and a little bit of break from the summer heat, and look at this. These things are going, like, again, kale everywhere. Moringa tree doing good. Carrots, bok choy keeps going to flower. But you see, and there's a lot of small stuff in here, like little garlics popping up. I think that's a garlic. That looks like it might even be an asparagus. I hope not. Beets coming up, all kind of stuff. But I feel like I need to go ahead and get all this chopped down. Even though, you know, we still have dragon tongue beans coming in. And, you know, we got different color chards. Everything looks good. I can keep harvesting, but the problem is that if I sit here all winter and just enjoy my harvest, pick my kales, do my kale soup, do my carrots, do my onions, my garlics, all that, yeah, I'll be happy. But then here it's going to come. I'm going to roll right into spring with all this growing. I'm going to have to figure it all out again. So, again, water pours down here, sits flooding here, and that's when my raised beds are fine. But when the water does leave, I'm left with dried out raised beds, and it's getting very hard to amend the soil again when the soil level is up high in these raised beds. Because if I start adding, I'm going to start mounding and coming up with issues. So what I really want to do is chop everything down, get the roots into the ground. But I think I'm going to have a hard time using these panels to run some long walls without knowing anything about bracing or structure. I don't know what I'm going to do, try to make it. And I guess make a zigzag out here to try to retain all this. Because when I pull out these beds, I'm going to get all this great soil just fluff down and fall down. And I'm going to have to scrape it up and flatten it out and move it. So I'm going to need something to contain it. So I'm going to have a huge walkway here now if I do this. But I'm not sure what to do, so I'll love some ideas. Do I just wall up, brick up, and just load up? Or do I keep what I'm doing? Do I dig out the soil and start again? Or do I just keep these beds and just keep doing what I'm doing? Just let me know. Thanks.